My name is Joe Schrader. I'm an MBA student at Cal State Long Beach, and today we're going to talk to you guys about answering interview questions. The interview. The interview is by far one of the most challenging and stressful things that any person can encounter. You have to walk into a room with people that you're not familiar with and you're trying to sell yourself. And selling yourself is also very complicated. Most people, it's not our nature to be so open and expressive about what we do know and what we don't know. But one of the things you have to remember when you're being interviewed is that you're there because they need someone, and they selected you for an interview because they feel that you have the skills or qualifications or the potential to perform the job. So when you go into an interview, you have to go in with that mindset. Recently I've had the experience of going to multiple interviews, and one of the things that I found beneficial was answering interview questions with the CEO method. The CEO method is a way of describing yourself and answering questions in a format that your employer or your potential employer will look at. C stands for challenge. Whenever somebody asks you a question, you have to be able to address it in the form of a challenge. What was it that was challenging about that position? What was it that was difficult, and how do you overcome it? The E is for execution. What did you do? How did you overcome it? How was it that you were able to take action and resolve the problem? And the O is for outcome. What was the official outcome? For example, if I was to ask you, can you please tell me one of the most challenging things you've done in your previous employment? Let's assume that you were working for a bank, and you came into a bank, and the bank had a constant issue with maintaining customer service. People were complaining, the lines were too long, there was too many different things. So what was the challenge? Being able to understand that customers are waiting too long and you need to be able to reduce the wait times without adding additional personnel, right? So how do you deal with that? Well, if you're the manager, you can say, I came in, I rotated people's schedules so that they can go ahead and have more staff members during the key business hours, excuse me. And that way I was able to remedy some of the backlog of people during the peak periods. And as the outcome, we were able to improve customer satisfaction by 20%. One of the things you may have noticed from my current example is that there was a challenge, which what is the issue, the execution, what did you do, and also the outcome. Whenever you're answering an interview question, it's important to list all three, but not only list all three, but also try to quantify things. Not just say, I improved customer service. I improved customer service by 20%. I rotated 5 people to a different peak hours. I was able to do different things. So the importance is not just to be able to communicate, but to communicate key figures. That way the client, or your respective employer, excuse me, understands that you actually did something and you took some action, and that's what happened. When you go into an interview, you got to realize that you might not have the specific skills that they're looking for. You might not have the relevant job experience that they're looking for, but also that's not necessarily always the case. Of course, there are some technical traits in which people need to have experience and people need to be proficient at a specific skill. If you hire a programmer, you want to make sure they can program. But that's not necessarily the case in all positions, especially at entry-level jobs. When you're looking at an entry-level position, a lot of times what they're looking for is more personality, and what they're looking for is your ability to take a complex situation and come up with a solution. So utilize the CEO method. Think about it. It's something that should work for you. It's something that works for many people, and it's something that as a previous person who had hiring authority would look for. Another example, let's say that if you're a high school student and you don't have any relevant job experience, this is your first job. You're trying to find a job where you're trying to barely break into the business. So you say to yourself, I don't have any work experience. How can I possibly answer the question like that? Well, it's very simple. I'm sure that all of us have had jobs where there'd be cleaning yards or doing errands or doing things. The issue is that you are a self-starter, you're motivated, and you're willing to work. So what's the challenge? I didn't have a job before, but I've always tried to keep myself busy and try to get additional side jobs so I can go ahead and pay for my high school prom, or cover my gasoline expenses, or being able to fix my car after it broke down. I remember when I was 17 years old, my car was always breaking down, so that was always a challenge. The execution, because I took all these little jobs, I was able to get additional income, I was able to get some referrals, did some yard work, the different things that were able to generate additional revenue, right? And what's the outcome? The outcome is I was able to fix my car. I was able to go and get additional jobs. I was able to do additional things. Even if you have no relevant work experience, an answer like that will make a potential employer think that, one, you are motivated, you are driven, and you have goals that you like to attain. And those are all characteristics that any potential employer will look for in their employees. And, well, that's it for the CEO method. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.